Hi, welcome everyone. Thank you so much for joining us. Today we are having a very special guest who has made history in this industry by creating remarkable programs and initiatives at Cannes Lions International Festival. She has been working on the transformation of the festival from a week event only focused on ad people to a global institution for creativity. She's with us as we approach one of our favorite time of the year, ElDorado Festival. This festival, which is a symbol for creativity and innovation in the country. So it is really, really special. This year, it brings us a new features designed to rise the standards of the event even higher by welcome one of the or most of the most prestigious creative leaders on the planet, new categories, and of course, a program that is really, really life-changing as CFB Latam. I'm delightful to welcome Senta Slingerland. Senta, it's so great being here with you. How are you doing today?
I'm great today. I'm very happy to be here. Thanks for having me.
It's really, really amazing having you. So let's start by asking you a little bit of your background. Tell us a little bit. What is your background? What have you done so far? What is your mission at the moment in the industry? Tell us.
A very interesting question to ask me right now because I'm going to give a talk at ElDorado about ambition and redefining ambition. So I'm thinking about this all myself a lot as well. But yeah, I think most people will know me from my time at Cannes Lions, where I was the director of brand strategy and did some of the things that you talked about and created different programs and kind of set what the brand of Cannes Lions was all about and kind of brought about some changes in that. But I quit there quite a long time ago already. And since then, I've done a lot of different things. And I guess I have sort of what people might call like a portfolio career. I do lots of different things. One of the things, though, probably the most important, is that I have a company called Fala with my co-founder. And we are really curators, and we curate inspirational or purposeful, rather, inspiration for brands so that they can inspire their clients as well. So we do lots of content curation, events, newsletters, things like that. And we help people create content as well. So we're on both sides. We do that. I also am leader at large at a company called Mesa, which is I like to call it a do tank. It's kind of a 5-day project where we get people around the table to solve problems for clients that have never been solved before. So it's a whole different part of my career. And then I'm a brand strategist as well. So I do lots of different things. I do all the things that I love, basically. It sounds very busy, but I have a lot of time still to relax.
I really love that as a brand strategy. I can't
wait. Yeah.
Oh, that's great, Senta. And it's really great how you started this because you are talking about like ambition. And ambition is something that you, I guess, like gather with your time, but it's like looking forward. So I really like to understand what is your perspective about the advertising and communication industry right now? How do you see the world in that sense at the moment? And how has been your experience, of course, implementing initiatives to improve it? Which results have you achieved?
Well, the ad industry has changed a lot in terms of like what it aims to do. And I think that's because the world has changed and the needs of the world have changed from, merely selling products to helping to steer where the world is going and, even at times tackling incredibly complex challenges that even governments don't really are able to tackle on their own. So the challenges and the opportunity for the industry has changed a lot. In terms of my little personal addition to that, I've always focused on the people within the industry, I guess. And, I do see that there's still incredible gap in who works in this industry. And there's still people that are marginalized, people that are not part of the industry as much as they should be. So my time is a lot focused on that. What was the other part of your question?
How has been your experience actually tackling that situation, right? Like implementing these initiatives and which results, of course, have achieved those?
Yeah. Well, there has been historically a lot of appetite for some of the stuff I've tried to implement, especially something like See It, Be It, which has had from the beginning very positive response. But then there's a difference in doing a one-off project, like a sort of a token thing, and that has a place in the industry at a particular time that people like to be part of, but then having like a sustained
Right.
influence throughout. So I think there's still a lot to do. I think at the moment I'm thinking a lot about the intensity and the pace that we expect people in the industry to work at. We work a lot at trying to make people's lives better in certain ways, helping to build sustainable solutions for things, helping people tackle mental health, doing all of that. But are we really looking after the people that are doing that in the industry as well?
Right.
I still see a lot of exhaustion, a lot of burnout, a lot of imposter syndrome, a lot of these things that I think the industry has a responsibility and an opportunity to help solve as well, if that makes sense.
Yeah, sure. And it's really like interesting because it's not only focusing one part of the equation, it's focusing like all those parts. Tell us a little bit about the results that you have seen, like that those kind of things have achieved.
Well, I think so. I initially started CEDB now 10 years ago, at which point there was a lot less language around these issues, like even
Mhm.
saying out loud that there was the disparity in gender representation in the industry was still kind of a new thing to say almost, like it wasn't so, whereas now it's like, well, yeah, what else is new? But so I think, and it's definitely not just CEDB that did that, but giving language to the problem, I think has been a big result in itself. So I remember the first year that I ran CEDB, I went to the industry and got industry leaders to nominate creative women leaders in their companies to apply for the program. And a lot of people came back and said, we can't nominate anyone. We don't have any female creative directors, which is exactly the problem I was trying to solve in the first place. But even just having them say that out loud might have been the first time they would actually have said that out loud to themselves. So even something small like that, giving it language is important. I think that's also why things like the Me Too movement and all these kind of things have been so important, because you give it language, and once you give it language, it is, and then it becomes something you can tackle. But before there's language for it, you can't even tackle it. So I think that's been a big result. I think lots of women have been in the spotlight. Lots of women that have been in CEDB have gotten promotions, moved countries, have realized their ambitions, all of those kind of things, which has given hope to a lot of other women. There is still a lot to do. There is other marginalized voices in the industry that, we are tackling with this, but I think it's a beacon of hope and hopefully an example for more things to come, I hope.
I really have to say that it's very inspiring how you present the impact or the results, because it's a very human approach. Sometimes we are very focused and drive by the numbers, right? Like numbers of people, numbers of markets, numbers of audiences, those kind of things. But when the result is about like having people like making questions that they haven't made to themselves before, that's really, really powerful. And that show us like a very strong purpose. And I really want to talk about the purpose with you. Why do you think it's so important for women to be like present in the creative roles, right? In the advertising agency? How do you think this contribute to achieve a greater equality in the sector?
Well, I mean, first of all, about 85% of purchase decisions are done or informed by women. So women are the people buying the stuff. So if the campaigns to buy the stuff isn't targeting those women, that's a really huge wasted opportunity for brands. So I still think that although those numbers have been out there for ages, I don't think we really realize what that means. So, if you're going to speak to women, it's probably wise to have women co-creating those messages, very basically. And not just women, but same for, any level of society. If you're going to speak to a certain demographic, have that demographic be part of crafting those messages. I also think that in any sector, but I obviously in advertising specifically, because that's the industry we know, there isn't always a very healthy life balance and sort of culture, and that is greatly because it's been so inspired by one particular group, and it doesn't necessarily welcome other groups. So I think women to help co-create the culture within the industry is very important for other groups for all groups to feel like they belong there. I fear sometimes that the industry is increasingly going to be a place where people don't want to be, because it's elitist, it's hard, it's
hostile sometimes.
It's hostile, it's exhausting, it's
competitive, cutthroat. Yeah.
There you go. It's something that chases validation a lot, and all those things. So I think some of those are values that are male. I don't mean that men only have them, but they're like male informed, historically. That I think the introduction of more women can help. I also think that Cindy Gallop said this very famously, that if you put one woman on a board or in a room, it becomes very difficult, because you're that woman in the room that needs to know about all the women in the world, and needs to do all of the female things, and whatever. Then you have two, and then it becomes difficult, because then it's like you and that person. It becomes almost like a kind of competition or whatever. Yeah, exactly. Or at least other people will think that you are in competition. Once you have three, things start to become healthy and productive. So that's why I think the balance is very important. I think that women, not to generalize, but often bring lots of skills that are very important for collaboration, empathy, listening, making people feel welcome, validated, all of those things. And those are very, very strong leadership skills. So I think, that's another reason why it's important. And then, of course, the impact on the work itself, and making sure that we look at the work through a lens, through a multiple lens, not just one particular type of lens.
Yeah, like the multi-dimensional aspect of the work, right? It's not only about the craft and the deliverable, is all the process behind it. And speaking of this process, how do you think the creative process and the outcome of advertising campaigns can be improved by having women leading the creative teams? Could you think in any random example that you can share with us?
Yeah, well, I mean, very basically, it's just, I think any message needs to be crafted by the people that will receive that message. There's so many, what do you call them, like blind spots, that things that we might not notice if you are not part of a particular demographic. Then you might just not notice certain things, and not know how the demographic you're writing for speaks things what they need. I mean, there's so many different examples, and I'm thinking about a lot of examples of companies that are led by women that I think are doing very interesting things, are thinking differently about how they're being led. I'm working with a company at the moment, actually, an advertising agency in New Orleans, that is led by a woman that just has lots of things about its culture that I find so admirable, that is thinking outside the box, from remote working, from how the projects are led, from how it's organized, all these things. But in terms of campaign, I'm thinking about actually a campaign run by an ex-C&B from Cannes Lions.
So we like that.
Yeah, she won a Glass Line Grand Prix this year for a campaign for the Korean police, which was about domestic abuse and using Morse code to let other people know that what's going on. But it was very rooted in actual behavior and how women that are abused might behave, and the things that we might never notice unless we do a lot of research and we talk to a lot of women about how they use their phone, how they move around the house, the issues they might encounter. So that was led by Atia, and we're very, very, very proud of her.
Amazing. And that's very rich, like having those dots connected, like making a space for people or for more women to participate, like having a great campaign, like be part of a program that is like globally focused on, making those platforms for women to and prepare themselves and allow themselves to learn new things. So that's great.
Exactly. It's a vicious circle, because I know it's not all about being at Cannes or whatever, but if at Cannes or at ElDorado as well, it's where you learn what great creativity looks like, what the creative benchmark is. If you're not there, you miss out on the learning. If you're not there, you don't do the networking that you need
Right.
to maybe then be put on a better brief, to then be put on a jury. It's all such a vicious circle. So at some point, it's just like, that's actually why the whole program started. It's like, let's get them there. It's step one is get them there. And then, so I love, exactly like you said, connecting the dots. There's been a lot of CBA women that have made the juries, that have been on stages, that now have won the Grand Prix, the Glass Line Grand Prix. So yeah, it's all about that.
And now that you're talking about that, like the dots being connected, especially in these festivals, right? Let's talk a little bit about the ElDorado festival that we are having very, very soon. How do you perceive its impact on the national scene? What do you think is the importance on this particular festival?
Well, I think that if you don't benchmark something, it's hard to achieve it or to overachieve it. So just by having something like ElDorado there in Colombia that sets a very, very high creative benchmark, people know what's possible, and people know, where they need to get and how they can even overcome, and outdo it, So it's just a beautiful occasion to benchmark creative thinking, and it's wonderful that it's sort of grown out of just Colombia and has become a benchmark for the whole region, really. And that's incredible. And it's interesting because when CIDB Latam launched, I was thinking a lot about CIDB in Cannes versus in Latam, and how they should coexist and all of that. And quite a few women said to me that it was wonderful for them to be part of the Latam edition, because they needed to really have this visibility in their own region first and connect with people in their own region. Yeah, because really their region is where they work. And I thought that was a nice insight that I hadn't really, I didn't want it to be sort of the second sister to the, fellowship sort of thing. So I think for some, it's maybe even more important to be in that, because that's the region they work. So, that's beautiful. And I think that ElDorado is always pushing, is always trying to improve every year, is getting the best people out there. And I don't know how they do it, but they just really get incredible talent there. So yeah, they're relentless. They don't give up. I love watching the team behind the scenes, like, work. It's very, very, very inspiring for me.
Yeah, and it's a beautiful approach to this. And being part of the festival is, like, personally, I definitely by far one of the best experiences that I have ever had in my life. And as you say, like, is an opportunity to bring people together and also to create different bars, to have an ambition to win, right?
And it's led by women. It's led by a whole team of women. So
I know, I know. There are very, very tough ones, very smart, and that's great. As to your point, like, having this little network, which is not little, is really big, but of women, like, let's say CIDB Latam last year, was an amazing group of girls, of women on the whole region. And like, I just talked to them like this morning, like I keep the contact with them, like all of us, we keep the contact. And it's not only about like the networking aspect that is helping you to get a job, it's actually a community that helps you to do the job. Like, when you don't know what to do, when you don't know anything about another culture, you just can just reach out to them and they are there for you. Actually, this morning I was having a problem with my flight and I was trying to reach out the other girls, and like all of them were like, yeah, what do we have to do, what is the interview? So they were all ready for do this. Like Juanita, one of them, were like very early in the morning talking to me, like learning all the questions. Like, it's really a community, it's a known village that I think is gonna be like for the rest of the time.
Yeah, I like this image of that it's a village. You know how they always say, like, to raise a child, you need a village.
Yeah.
But like, to have a career like this, you kind of need a village too. And it's
Absolutely.
And you know, it really breaks this old school idea that women are always competing. And so I've never felt this in my life. I've always heard this in media, and I've never felt this. And CB is a proof that it isn't or doesn't need to be like that at all.
Yeah, personally, I have felt it, to be honest with you. Like, in my experience, I have, but it's really impressive to see how the things evolved and how we are getting there, because of course it's a process, and how you start to be part of another person's career too. Like, you can take a lot from them, but you also can transfer a lot. So it's like a commitment in both ways, right? So
True.
that's how this works, and really changes your life. Like, see it be it for me has been really, really a great motive on my career. It started with a big validation. I was like the only strategist on the group, so that for me was quite an achievement. But also I understand how to define better myself, like how to define better what I do and why I do it. So it's been like a whole training, and really it's just like a couple of days, but it remains to you like the whole time with you. So it's been really great. Okay, Senta, thank you so much for this time. And I really want to thank you for creating this program, like on the behalf, like a lot of women. I'm so sure they agree with me. And yeah, it's been life-changing, and it has opened so many doors. And thank you for coming this year to ElDorado. We are so looking forward to have you here. You're gonna love that. It's really going to be amazing. And
thanks for having me. Thanks for your really, really kind words. And hope to see you there.
Absolutely. Great.
Ciao.
Ciao.
Ciao.